Hey there. I was just chatting with a client, and she's actually someone that's around my age, and she was sharing about how, she grew up in the low-fat culture that most of us, especially if you're somebody over 45, you know what I'm talking about. There were decades when we were told that, we needed to remove the fat from our food and eat a really low fat diet. And in most cases, that fat was replaced by like gross stuff or sugar to make the food just taste better. So, she's really struggling with adding in healthy fats to her diet because she's really just been trained to think that fat is bad. One of the concerns that she has, two of them, really, she is struggling with a lot of different symptoms that we're all kind of going through right now as we're getting older. And we're all blaming perimenopause, of course, but things like, being tired all the time, having hot flashes, hormones that are just kind of all over the place, which is part of the transition. It just honestly doesn't have to be quite this severe. You don't have to have hot flashes and things, but she's dealing with that. But her primary concern is that she has been gaining weight despite her efforts to lose weight. So she's been working out, she was dieting, she'd cut out different foods and all the different things that she had been told to do. And instead of losing weight, she actually started gaining weight, and it was kind of freaking her out a little bit. So just like everyone, when they come to me, one of the very first things that they all have in common, regardless of their symptoms, is that they want me to tell them what foods to eat and what foods to avoid. So that's where we started with her. So when we dug into her food that she was actually eating, and the way we did this was tracking it. We wrote down meals and we wrote down approximate amounts so that we could see really what she was truly taking in versus what she thought she was taking in. So tracking is important, but in her case, we weren't like measuring tablespoons or anything. And so what we found is that she was eating some protein, but not enough. And she was eating actually a lot more carbs than she realized because she was depending on a lot of things like grains, like oatmeal for breakfast, quinoa, and rice and things like that with her meals, but she was getting very little protein with those meals and very little fat. And what we found is some of those nutrient deficiencies based on what she was getting or what she wasn't getting was actually driving some of her symptoms, specifically in the area of fat. So we knew by looking at her symptoms that her body needed more of these healthy fats and less of the carbs and actually more protein. But for the purpose of this, I'm talking specifically about the fats. Fats actually constitute the lining of every single cell membrane in your body, and they do a lot of other, tons of other jobs in your body as well. They're a great source of energy that's more long lasting, and that was something else she was dealing with, was being tired every afternoon. But primarily for her, they're a precursor to hormones, so they are a component that create some of the hormones that she was deficient in. So increasing the nutrients that her body need to make those hormones was actually really important for her. But again, she was afraid that eating more fat was going to make her fat. And because she wanted to lose weight, she was hesitant to try that. So we broke it down a little bit about where that weight gain might be coming from. So just by changing her food that she was taking in and changing the amounts of it. So that means we focused on bringing in more protein for her. A little bit less carb and a little bit more fat was actually what her body needed. She was able to see improvements kind of across the board with her symptoms that she'd been struggling with. She had more energy throughout the day. She wasn't dealing with inflammation and achy joints and brain fog as much. She was sleeping better, which is nice. She wasn't having her hot flashes anymore. I can't say anymore. She's down to about 1 or 2 a week when she was having 3, 4, 5 a day. That's still really good. But the kicker is she's actually starting to lose weight. So if you've ever wondered if the symptoms that you're feeling are, directly related to the food that you're eating, you're probably right. There's probably something that's going on that you might be taking in that's causing problems, or that you might not be getting enough of that's causing the problems. And actually, that's more of what I see, is that you're not getting enough of the nutrients that you need for your body to function well which creates symptoms. And believe it or not, weight loss resistance or the inability to lose weight is actually a symptom of something else going on. It's not just that you're, not working out enough or that you're eating too much. Now, in some cases, in a small percentage of the population, there are, pretty sedentary people that have crappy diets. They do really well with, eating less and working out more because they're coming from like a really bad place, but to a really, to a better place. Whereas if you're in this realm, you're probably doing a lot of the right things. They're just not being effective for you. And so we need to ask why. And it could very well be related to your food. One of the services that I give to every single client that I work with is pretty much a comprehensive food journal review where we look at what they're eating and we figure out what foods they need to add and what foods they need to avoid. That's actually something that I do with potential clients as well. So that's something I'd love to help you with. If it's something you're concerned about, if you're not sure if your diet has the nutrients in it that it needs to support the symptoms that you're having, that's something that I can help you with. So I'm going to put a little slider here. And if you'd like to know more about that or would like my help and just looking at your foods in general, I'm more than happy to do that. I look at them from the perspective of not just what you're eating, but what you're not eating, what your symptoms are like, what your energy levels are like, your sleep is like, your digestion, all of that is combined in this review. So let me know if you want it.